Feels like so long ago. I got elected to Congress about 8 years ago, and I got elected to do something, pledging to do something about the debt and the deficits. How things have changed. 8 years ago, all of us Republicans, we wanted to do something about all of this debt. The White House comes out today and announces some revised estimates that we're looking at $1 trillion deficits again, and nothing but crickets from the Republican Party. Let's discuss this. Joined again by Robbie Sloane with Reason Magazine. Robbie, thank you again, my friend. So the White House revises their projections up. We're looking at least a $1 trillion deficit in this upcoming fiscal year. Why? Why the increase in the deficit?
Well, the deficit is increasing because, unfortunately, the Republicans have no interest in cutting spending. They did pass, a tax cut, which I like. I want small government. I want people to pay less in taxes. But without any accompanying decrease in spending, that's just going to balloon the deficit. We have to get serious, right? I thought Republicans were going to do that. It was all, Democrats are the ones that have this fantasy about using government spending to pay for everything. I thought, but now the Republicans, they control Congress, they control the presidency, and they need to do something about entitlement spending, military spending, and a host of other topics that they don't want to touch. They've just said, no, we're not going to touch it.
Robbie, it's amazing to me, again, when I was there 8 years ago and Obama presented us with trillion-dollar deficits, we held press conferences every hour on the hour, every day, railing against the debt and the deficits. This information comes out today. The Republicans in Congress know what's going on, and yet they haven't said a word. Why are they so quiet now?
I mean, hypocrisy doesn't even begin to cover it, right? I mean, I don't know what else it is. It's their responsibility, and they don't want to deal with it. I mean, there's a lot else going on with the news. The media is very fixated on other kind of the salacious aspects of the Trump presidency. So the debt and the deficit are not always at the top of of what's going to be discussed on any given day. And unfortunately, that allows politicians of both parties to get away with just not addressing it at all, even though, our entitlement system is going to go insolvent over the next couple decades. I'm turning 30 next month. I don't ever expect to get a dime out of Social Security. This massive transfer of wealth from young people to older Americans that Republicans aren't doing anything about.
Forget about that, Robbie. You won't see any of that. When you talk to people in the administration, they talk about growth. Economic growth will sort of bring these deficits down over the course of the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. I mean, right now we're looking at $7, $8, $9 trillion addition to the debt over the next decade. But they talk about economic growth. Do you see that having much of an impact?
No, simply because the debt is too high. I mean, economic growth will have an impact. It's a good thing. The economy is doing pretty well if Trump's ridiculous tariffs don't crash it. But other than that, the economic portrait is good, but there's no way on earth this could possibly make up for the fact that we are spending like we're drunk all the time. The federal government is. And so you just can't cover that big a deficit with better economic growth. It's a fantasy to think you can. I'm sorry.
No, I agree, Robbie. And, look, in President Trump's defense, he didn't really talk about this at all during the campaign. I don't think he really cares much about the debt and the deficits. But Ryan McConnell and the Republicans in Congress, they should. Now, you and I know both that the big enchilada here, as you rightly pointed out, is all of this entitlement spending. We're in a heap of trouble, Robbie, aren't we? Because nobody has a spine to do anything about our entitlements.
Right. And the reason is the incentives are so bad because you risk infuriating, older Americans go to the polls. Right. And it's older Americans who vote Republican and who vote Democrat. Unfortunately, want to make sure they get these entitlements. And it would take a truly brave, perhaps even suicidal politician to, go out on a limb to decrease spending on those matters, especially when, nobody's, like, your feet aren't really being held to the fire by the news media. And just like you said, President Trump really didn't run on fixing this exactly.
Right.
I mean, he sort of ran on economic security for people who are, kind of getting left out of the more global economy. I mean, bringing sort of the working class into the Republican coalition. That maybe there's an argument for doing that for winning votes. Unfortunately, that can have bad fiscal ramifications. That means we're really not going to do anything about our runaway spending.
Well, hey, Robbie, I'm just curious. What do you tell people your age, around 30, some of these millennials, when it comes to the entitlements, Social Security and the rest? I mean, literally, what if we don't address this issue, these issues, the entitlements, what is the end game? What in your eyes is going to happen with them?
Yeah. I'm always, forgive me for this, but I'm always trying to stoke a little bit of generational warfare. I mean, young people should be furious that money is being transferred from them who are, starting out in their careers, who have comparatively little economic advantage and security. A lot of them have terrible loan debt, student loan debt, because they were sold a really raw deal in that way. I mean, they're somewhat responsible, but there's some bad incentives there in government policy as well. And they're paying for Americans who've had much more opportunity, actually, during better economic conditions, to make a lot of money and take care of themselves. Look, I'm not a heartless person. I don't want to, deprive people of what they were entitled to. But I mean, we have to be realistic. This is a wealth transfer from younger Americans to older Americans. And I wish, young people who are even young people who are very liberal should be worried about this, right? Why aren't they angry about this? So I try to tell that to them.
Quick question, Robbie, are they aware of it? I mean, are they truly aware of the crisis these entitlement programs are up against?
I'm not sure they are truly aware of it. Maybe some of them are. I think others have sort of bought into maybe more Keynesian economic ideas about it. Well, it's really not a problem if we're massively in debt. This won't hurt the economy. Some I think like, well, this is government's responsibility to take care of everyone. So I'm going to advocate for me being taken care of as well, and then I won't be so mad about it. If we get universal basic income and minimum wage and student loan debt forgiveness, we're going to get all that stuff too, and then it'll be fair, and we'll just have utterly no money whatsoever.
Exactly. Hey, I always appreciate it. Robbie Sloane, Reason Magazine. Robbie, thank you, my friend.
My pleasure. Good talking with you.
The Palestinians have absolutely no interest in peace, and they never will. Coming up next.